Good morning, Wayne. We will see you right here on this show at 11:30 Eastern, as always on Fridays for Wayne's World. But right now it is time to skip the BS, time for Undisputed, time to talk about the hottest story in sports, time to talk Caitlin Clark and the women's Final Four tonight and Sunday. Yep, I said women's Final Four. We are leading Undisputed, delving deeply into women's college basketball because it is the biggest story in sports, much bigger than the men's Final Four. We will get to the Warriors and to the Sixers and to the Clippers. We will get to the latest information on Rashee Rice and that situation, and what I thought was stunning news about a rework contract for Stephon Diggs. But first up, I am joined by Keyshawn Johnson and Paul Pierce to talk Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers and Dawn Staley's 36-0 South Carolina team, heavily favored to win it all. Morning, Key and Truth.
Morning.
How are you, gentlemen? All right, before we get to whether Caitlin Clark can lift Iowa past UConn and South Carolina and validate her all-time scoring record with the championship, let's discuss why ticket prices are more than twice as high for the women's Final Four than the men's. Keyshawn, your thoughts on this development?
Well, I think first of all, it's major intrigue. You got to start there. You got a couple stars that's playing. You got a South Carolina team that's undefeated.
Undefeated.
That won a championship.
It almost seems like it's off radar, right?
Well, because they're so heavily favored.
Yeah.
So the matchup in the story now is Paige Bueckers versus Caitlin Clark, Iowa versus UConn. Then the story will be, can whoever that is, assuming South Carolina doesn't get upset by the Cinderella story.
I'm going to assume that does not happen.
North Carolina State, that the story will then be, can Paige Bueckers or Caitlin Clark beat an undefeated South Carolina team led by Dawn Staley, That'll be the whole story.
If it is Caitlin versus South Carolina, that's going to be a bombshell rating. That could break the latest record.
Yeah, that will break it.
It will be a bombshell watch, but also Gino versus Dawn Staley and their back and forward that they've had over the years. Just all those little storylines is why the intrigue is there. Plus, men's college basketball, I don't even know who.
I don't even know one player. I know DJ Burns.
I don't know one player.
He's in the Final Four. That's about it.
You know Zach Edey, the producer, player of the year. Okay, but he's kind of off radar.
That's it. I couldn't tell you right now.
It's not flashy. I can't watch.
I couldn't tell you.
The star of the UConn men's team is the head coach, Dan Hurley, because he's a Hurley. Because he's Bobby Hurley's brother, right?
And I have no idea about any of the dudes playing. I
understand.
And that's just the reality of it.
It is.
I have no interest in men's college basketball at the level where it's appointment. This, on the other hand, is appointment for me because if SC has somehow gotten to the Final Four, I would have figured out a way to get there to watch them play.
You would have gone.
Yes, not only because it's my university, but I'm also interested in it.
Well, you're interested in one star who's just a freshman who looks like she is going to be something.
There's nothing in men's college basketball. They're not talking about any of the players. They just don't.
No.
They don't talk about it.
No. I watched the Final 8 game, the LSU game and Iowa game. I watched that like it was a national championship game.
I understand.
And I'm thinking, can they get any better than this? And then I look up and you got UConn, one of the most historic programs ever, with Paige, obviously, Bueckers, who's had a great year, probably one of the top 5 players. I mean, she is a top 5 player. And then Caitlin with this historic run. And then I look on the other side, you got undefeated South Carolina who got upset by Iowa a year ago. It's just too many story plots for me not to watch this. I mean, obviously, I think we all want to see probably Iowa and South Carolina because what Iowa did to South Carolina last year, people don't even know if you do, they put them out they ended their undefeated season. And so however it goes, I mean, we overlook at NC State, but they've been great. And so either way, however it goes, I'm tuning in. I mean, there's just too many variables to this that have great storylines, and the star power is there. You got LeBron talking about it. You know, that's gauging the interest.
Oh, the GOAT.
He mentioned it.
Wait,
talking about the girl.
Oh, yeah.
He mentions it.
Yeah.
And so if I was available, I would fly out there now and get a ticket because it's just that interesting to me. I mean, me and Key right now talking about where we gonna go watch this game.
I heard you before the show, and I was like, man,
I'm gonna go watch the game.
Man, think of what we're doing here. You're talking about where you're going to watch the women's game.
Trying to figure it out.
Trying to figure it out.
Okay.
And so that level of interest is not only myself, but people who've never even watched the girls' game that just only concentrate on the men's game are going to tune in. So they're constantly getting new followers, and a lot of this has to do with the teams. Caitlin Clark, obviously, what she's done to the game of college basketball, elevated to the level it's at with her performances. I'm excited. I mean, after the last game, I couldn't even breathe right. My adrenaline was flowing. I was just like, there's more to go, and so I can't wait.
$2,300 on an average for the women's game, twice as much as the men's game on the resale market. So if that's the case, then there's some tickets that's out there that's, $5,000 and $6,000.
You got that right.
Yeah. Which is like interesting.
Yeah. All right. Allow me to date myself because I have been a women's basketball fan for a long, long time. I go clear back to what was called the WBL back in my days in Dallas. Just mainly because my next-door neighbor was named Nancy Lieberman. She was called Lady Magic. She was the first pick in the draft by the Dallas Diamonds, and she would go up against Machine Gun Molly Bolin and Carol Blazejowski, and they could ball. Trust me, they could ball. And then I always watched the women, but there have been many, many years when the men were more interesting just because of the star power, and I know how we look at it. We want to project who's going to be big at the next level, who's going to dominate the next level, who's going to be impactful at the next level. So that's mainly why I watch the men, unless I have, as Key points out, some rooting interest in Oklahoma or where I went to school at Vanderbilt or whatever. If you have some Kansas Jayhawk rooting interest, then that's a whole different ballgame. All right. Then we get to star power, and we get to Caitlin Clark. What is the intrigue with Caitlin Clark? I heard Gino talking yesterday about it takes personalities. Well, Caitlin does not have a huge personality to me. She's not a scintillating interview. She's not a quote-unquote character. She's a nice personality, but her interviews are pretty cut and dry. They're pretty cliche-ridden. She says all the right things, but I can't remember anything she says because she's not a quote machine. So she's not doing it with her personality, and certainly she's not doing it with any storylines off the court. She's doing it with simply this. We've never seen anything like a female basketball player who goes Steph Curry because she is shooting jump shot logo threes. Jump shots, not set shots, not feet on the floor. She shoots pure Paul Pierce style jump shots from deep. Remember, the court's the same, so she's shooting logo threes. And the other night, like you, I'm on the edge of my seat. We all picked LSU. But every time she went up, I'd say, that's a bad shot. That's a bad idea. And it went in. She made 9 out of 20. And it took all 9 of them to hold off an LSU team that I still believe to this moment, LSU's just better than Iowa. But they didn't have one better player than that player who revolutionized college basketball doing that. And then, to your point, she's also got some John Stockton going on because she can flat pass the basketball. It's not sensational. It's not eye-popping. It's not behind the back, between the legs. But I think you guys sit back and say, that's legit. You know,
she makes the right play every time.
Yeah, and plays where you say, ooh, that's pretty special, you know, that to see that play and that bounce pass or that full court pass or whatever she pulls off, the combination of the logo threes plus the rare, to me, great passers come along like once a generation because you can't teach it, you can't coach it. You either see it or you don't see it. You can see it before it happens or you cannot. LeBron James is as gifted a passer as we've seen this side of Magic Johnson and John Stockton to me. Well, you can't, nobody taught him. He just had it and he honed it, obviously, but she's got it. Maybe not quite to the LeBron level, but she's got 2 things operating where she can make her teammates better, and her teammates, to me, are average at best. Yeah. Is that fair to say?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
All right. Okay, now let's get to tonight. This is a story, you can argue UConn's the program in women's college basketball, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe we can.
No, they are.
They just are.
Tennessee kind of.
They had their
They've
run.
been Tennessee for a while, and Tennessee fell off.
Pat Summitt's time. Yep. All right. So now we got Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, UConn.
Gino.
Your prediction? Yeah, Gino. That's a good point, too. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Gino and Paige.
Okay.
Over Iowa.
Because?
It's just something about her, number one, that I like. And
you liked her, how she played against USC?
I just like how she moved, and it's just her all-around game. It just is something that I'm used to seeing.